Can you hear me? Hello? You turn this mic up? It's on. I have it on. Oh, geez, sorry. There I am. Well, good evening. Thank you for coming. If I get you all to have a seat, we were going to have just kind of an open house of impromptu presentation, if you will, at the boards. But what we do have is Supervisor Smith for this particular district is in the house, and so he wanted to say a few words. Then I'll give a short presentation, and then we can do a little Q&A, question and answer type of thing up around the boards if you would like. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you all for being here. It's good to have a group that is interested, and as I know in my relationship with SaddleBrooke, you are very proactive and active in anything that goes on in the neighborhoods, of which there are some additional developments and things that are happening, and I can share those at other times. But tonight we're looking at an important progress, our opportunity for progress for Pinal County, and that the overall thing is the Regional Transportation Authority that was recently established by Pinal County, and now ultimately would be lead to a question to the voters of whether or not to add a half-cent sales tax in order to complete a network of roads. Some of the roads are to correct deficiencies, and the one deficiency that I especially know about, and many of you in the audience know about, is the deficiency of the road access to the Sundance Ridge community that causes to go through Catalina and etc. So when I was working with the groups about a year ago and last fall, we were rather limited as far as what the county could do in order to correct that situation. But when we had this opportunity for a Regional Transportation Authority come forward, we put our heads together and thought, hey, here's an opportunity that we can fix the deficiency. And if you you know very well the route going away from the gatehouse up along Catalina Road, and when you come past that green gate that is the state trust land, that would be the possible alignment of the bypass road or the cutoff road that would, yes, that would lead to Sundance Ridge and not go across or in front of the homes that that was, you know, one of the main points of contention when you were working with me. There are other roads as far as completing a whole network of roads in order to strengthen the transportation system in a number of the cities. And then there's also some larger projects that work on the economic vitality of Pinal County, whether it's the north-south corridor that connects the East Valley cities and Gateway Airport down through Coolidge, Florence, Eloy, down near Picacho Peak, which would create a commerce corridor, or even the possibility, if one of the possible alignments in the Maricopa Casa Grande area would be where I-11 passes through Pinal County. That's also on the RTA. But again, the whole idea of the Regional Transportation Authority was to take an opportunity to correct deficiencies, strengthen the road network, and then provide for additional economic development. So we had not planned necessarily for presentations, but it seemed like this is the right format and that's what you're interested in. So we're going to introduce some of the speakers, and they're going to provide and walk you through some of the slides or the boards, and then take your questions, because we certainly want to be able to communicate effectively with you and answer your questions. And hey, we got 2 hours, so let's do it. All right. Who's first?
Well, good evening. Let's see. Back in 1940, no. Basically what we're trying to get at here is that we want the input from folks. And so what we're doing is going around to 5 different locations throughout Pinal County, trying to get input on a regional transportation authority, because based on November in the election, 2016 November election, the before you will be a ballot to have a regional transportation plan with a specific set of projects on it, as well as a vote to create a half-cent sales tax, excise tax, so that we can build these particular facilities that are before you. So what we want from you tonight is to be able to say, are these projects what you could support? And if not, please tell us what those projects should be. Maybe you're thinking that we should do more transit. Maybe we should do pavement preservation, which is enhancing or working on maintaining the existing the existing roadways that you currently have, that type of thing. So what we're looking for is not just specifically to your region, but as you drive through Pinal County, some of the things that you would like to see on the roads within Pinal County. So I don't know how much of the history you want me to go back. Board of Supervisors enacted the Regional Transportation Authority. We're going out, and these particular roads were identified through the last 10 to 15 years of transportation planning studies that had been done since probably 2005, 2006. These particular facilities kept floating up to the top as a need for the region as population and demographics started to increase within the county. So that's where we came up with these particular roads that are before you today. So really what we're trying to get from you is to say, do you validate what we have here? And we want your input. I'd be more than happy to bring you up to the boards if you want to do it, or we can do a few question and answers. We also have the executive director of the Pinal Regional Transportation Authority is here tonight if you want to direct some questions towards him. We obviously have Supervisor Smith. I do not believe we have any other elected officials in the audience, and we also have the Public Works Director and the County Engineer for Pinal County. And I would be more than happy. Yes, sir.
Big map back up.
Can you put the big map up on the screen?
I don't think I need.
Please.
We can't hear you if you don't use the mic.
I think they're recording.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Could we get the big map back up?
There you go.
On the map, we have 3 red dots to the right, and all that sits in District 1. We are at SaddleBrooke, which is District 4, but just above it, you've got Oracle, San Manuel. They're not shown here, and I found out from one of the gentlemen speakers today that essentially the red dots, Oracle and San Manuel, get absolutely no benefit from this planned road expansion. Then I found out that the red section, the vertical line almost in the middle of the red section, will prevent you, that's not going to be purchased right away because you don't have the money, which I think makes P in the green line above it useless, certainly to us. If you don't have the money to purchase that, what are we spending a 0.5% more in taxes for? These are sales taxes. So what is that accomplishing, and why should we want to do this? And how much more money is it going to take, and where are you going to get that money?
I don't know if I should keep that. Let's start with the red dots. That is actually, those are the incorporated cities within Pinal County. And those folks would actually, based on the Arizona Revised Statute, the way it is written, they would get $300,000 every year so that they would be able to utilize for their transportation projects within their communities. It would have to be restricted to transportation. That could be enhancements like sidewalks and handicap ADA accessible sidewalks, curbs, roads, that type of thing. And it would obviously be a sizable increase in their transportation budgets for those incorporated communities along. It's $300,000, so it's about 6 million over the 20-year period. Then you have the blue, which are park and ride, particular locations for park and ride lots. And that's what those blue squares represent. And then we would also be looking at some transit components of dial-a-ride, circular transit type of accessibility for people who may not want to drive, don't have cars. The red hashed line is really right-of-way preservation for what is currently being looked at as a north-south freeway facility by ADOT. And so that red hashed line that you see there is actually the right-of-way preservation for that particular freeway template that's going from I-10 all the way up to US 60. Based on the funding and the forecast revenues that we'd identified for this 20-year tax plan, we would only be able to fund that green level at a 4-lane principal type of arterial. But we would purchase enough right-of-way so that when ADOT came in with their funding abilities, we would be able to increase it to a 6-lane freeway type of facility. I hope that answers your question. Okay, well.
The red line, when would you expect to be able to construct a roadway there? 2, 4, or 6 lane?
Hi, my name is Ken Hall, and I'm the Executive Director of the Central Arizona Governments, and also the Executive Director of the Pinal Regional Transportation Authority. I wanted to back up a little bit and answer the red dot question. Statutorily, these are communities that wouldn't directly benefit from, is this better? Sorry about that. I wanted to address the red dot question for you. Statutorily, these red dot communities, which are the towns of Superior, Kearney, and Mammoth, they don't have any kind of direct benefit as a municipality as a result of this proposed plan as it stands now. So statutorily, if you go and you read the state statutes and how they relate to regional transportation authorities, they're entitled to receive $300,000 per year over a 20-year period, and that is just specifically for local roadway development. The question being, the second part you had is the right-of-way preservation that goes south of what we're calling the Casa Grande Connector. And as Andy was saying, basically that is the whole concept behind the north-south freeway, or not freeway, but parkway, is to do a 4-lane parkway facility from Mountain View up on the US 60, and to carry that south of Coolidge, basically to where it stands now, where the Kleck-Hortson Road alignment, or what we're calling the Casa Grande Connector, would be. Now, south of that, we've identified right-of-way preservation, so at a minimum, we could preserve that land. And the whole concept of this is to have a separate north-south option to I-10. The idea is that we'll go in, develop it as a 4-lane facility, purchase the right-of-way for the corridor, so at some point in time, ADOT will come in, add a lane in each direction, and it would be a freeway facility, basically. We're still discussing right now whether or not, because we're still in the planning stage, although a lot of these projects have been identified, we're going out to the public to get the input from the public to see, because an option is to carry that all the way south. We're still looking at projects, what the public would like to see. We're showing that right now as right-of-way, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be right-of-way. But as it stands now, based on everything that we've received input on, based on the previous 8 to 10 studies that have been done over the last 10 to 12 years, where a lot of these projects have been identified from, and a lot of our community meetings that we've had with each one of the municipalities in Pinal County, with each one of the mayors and the city and town managers, that is why you're seeing the plan as it is now, because this is where it's been developed to the present. Before we cast this in stone, so to speak, it's close, but it may not be close. It may not be cast in stone. We're trying to get as much public input as we possibly can so we can go ahead and make the final changes to it so it's ready. One of the things that was said is in August of 2015, the Pinal County Board of Supervisors basically approved the Regional Transportation Authority. And by state statute, the local council of governments, which is our agency, the Central Arizona Governments, we're kind of the overseer of the RTA, the Pinal RTA. As it stands now, we will be taking the plan before the RTA board, which is comprised of every city and town within Pinal County, including Pinal County itself. They will vote on this, and they'll also vote on a resolution to support a 1/2-cent sales tax over a 20-year period. Once that clears the RTA board, then we'll be taking that before the County Board of Supervisors for a formal vote to ask them to approve the Regional Transportation Plan, which you're seeing here, in addition to the resolution to go forward with a 1/2-cent sales tax. And that's kind of where we're at right now. And this was touched upon already, but Pinal County, it's a large county, it's larger than the state of Connecticut, and it's seeing a tremendous level of growth and development. And unfortunately, there aren't federal or state dollars to do roadway development. So the county is being proactive and trying to get ahead of the growth by establishing a series of north-south and east-west roadway connectors to move people and goods. And that's the whole concept behind this. Right now, it's basically focused upon roadway development, and you see where the little P's are up on the map. Now, those are park and ride lot facilities. Basically, these will be modern parking lots, lighting, a nice facility. So, for example, if somebody wanted to meet up and go somewhere, or if they're working somewhere and they want to carpool, they would be able to park their cars in a safe and secure environment, and everybody could carpool in. And that's the whole concept behind that. And we were trying to put these in strategic locations throughout the county. But basically, right now, we're looking at the roadways and the park and ride facilities. Yes, sir. Oh, okay.
Hi, the Regional Transportation Authority published a final report on January 20th, 2016. And inside that report, Chapter 5,
Right.
there is a reference to project deliverables on the line SaddleBrooke, and it says SR 177 at $2.5 million, delivery date 2028. When we
No, that's not.
let me finish, please. Let me finish.
Okay, and I'll
When I do
explain.
the comparison, we did the comparison between this overlay that you gave to us and
Right.
the final report, and we're not sure which map we're looking at or what particular wording we're using, because on this map it's called Golden Dam Road.
Right.
So could you explain that for us, please?
Loose. But I did want to say that plan that is on the website and the actual plan that's up with the 2 appendices, that was an earlier version. This thing is metamorphosized over time. And this is one of the reasons we're going out for a public comment. But that project is actually on the plan. And in terms of when it is going to be developed, the schedule, we haven't really cast in stone a schedule yet. The whole purpose behind the 20-year plan was to do a 4-phased, we're putting it in 4 phases in 5-year increments. And basically, all the projects will fall within either phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, or phase 4. We have not yet identified specifically where these are going to be. That plan that you're referring to was preliminary. It was basically the first version just to get the process moving, knowing that these plans, the schedule, when they would be developed, is all subject to change.
I appreciate that. Thank you for that. But I do want to make a point. If we have a vote here, we would definitely want this pushed up into phase 1, since they're already scraping cul-de-sacs and roads in Sundance Ridge, and the construction traffic has already started.
Thank you, we understand. As well as Golder Dam Road actually exists, so we can't name it Golder Dam Road. It was that on the map. So that will be changed to another name.
Forgive us for being a little bit skeptical because we're quite concerned that plans do get approved without our prior notice of that. And so that frightens us. We are very concerned about when this Sundance project would be. Phase 1 would be crucial, I think, to SaddleBrooke for its approval and support for you. And the question that came from the gentleman earlier from the center was, again, what are the timelines for the different parts of the project? Because, of course, certain parts of the county have higher priorities than other parts of the county, and we're a little bit selfish, even though we care about overall for the whole, the greater good.
Well, I think given the fact that this is a $2.5 million project, I can't see an issue with it being moved up in phase 1. Well, that's why we're here, to get public input, and if that's the public sentiment, then that's something that we would seriously look at.
Again, that's the whole reason we're here, is to get the feedback, and it would certainly make sense to put it in phase 1. I mean, it's actually going through state trust land. We've had a really fun time going through state trust land or BLM land, so we know we need to jump on it and expedite it as quickly as possible. But yes, if we waited 5 years, the project already will have built out and would have little meaning to you but little meaning for you if it was delayed. But the question doesn't go before the voters until November 2016. So once it is approved or disapproved by the voters, if it's approved, then the gentleman right here and his council or committee or whatever they are, that group will start working on proceeding through the plans. And you know, you'd have to work with state trust, you'd have to do design, etc. I can appreciate your skepticism, but it's just a matter of, you know, you have to wait till November to see whether or not the question is approved or not, and then you have to move on from there and work through state trust and those other issues. But that's I hear the message, and I think the rest of these people up here hear the message. It needs to be a phase 1 project.
Okay, so, but let's talk specifically and not, well, in generalities. When we talk about planning, there are multiple steps that have to be taken. So just because something is approved in November, you have land acquisition planning, you have environmental planning, you have the engineering studies. So this is not even a 1-year deal. So
Well,
can somebody
actually,
talk about those phases of planning for the SaddleBrooke project? Rough timelines.
And state land as well.
Right. My name is Scott Bender. I'm the county engineer. So yeah, this alignment that we're talking about would be through the state land department, and our dealings with them from start to finish is about 2 years. Hopefully, we can get it done sooner. That would include the environmental as well. So, but we can do parallel processes. So we can do the acquisition, the design, but we're probably looking 3 to 4 years. Correct. Completion. Yeah.
I just wanted to follow up on what the supervisor was saying. I feel that obviously this is a public sentiment thing. I don't see an issue with putting this right up front in our schedule to have it, you know, actually be one of the first projects, so it's developed in a couple of years. That's not an issue. But there again, we can put it in the plan, but the plan has to be approved by the voters of Pinal County. We can show it that way in phase 1, and what happens is if it's voted upon, then it will stay in phase 1. So I think the issue is at this point is to make sure that it's early in the schedule during the first year. Exactly, and expedite it as quickly as possible so this can be one of the first completed projects in the county.
I have a comment. Uh, all the development that I see is way over by Casa Grande, has nothing to do with any of us. And I know when I go up to Tempe or Phoenix, I go all the way up through Florence, Florence Junction, Apache Junction. So I will probably never experience any of these improvements. If in November, the Golder Dam Road project is not in phase one, I have absolutely no reason to vote for it. Let me make another comment. We have a SaddleBrooke Marketplace that will be breaking ground sometime, they were told us in August, to be finished August of next year, and there'll be a supermarket, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There are residents here in SaddleBrooke who have no local transportation. They don't drive anymore. They depend on friends and neighbors. I would like to see for them at least a dial-a-ride or something even a little more significant so that they can get up there. Right now, they have no way of getting to Bosch's. Bosch's is Pima County, so there's a restriction. But for them, I would like to see that.
Okay, that's a common, well noted. Yes.
I guess we're from Illinois, and skepticism comes with all road and transportation projects.
Right, understandable.
Delayed me coming to SaddleBrooke for 3 years because there was going to be a road in my backyard, which never happened. Don't call us a stakeholder because that's a difficult thing. And so we are a part of this if we are all voting for something like this. So I want to know, who are you who are doing this? We see CAG. We're a little skeptical about CAC. And so they are connected with some of your roads up there, way up there by Apache Junction, which would be very convenient for a junior college. It connects another part of the junior college system. Basically, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, are you part of the Central Arizona plan that is all involved with the junior colleges and also with things that are going on up there that really down in the southeastern part of Pinal County, you don't even rate us having Oracle on your chart. So who are you and who pays you right now?
My name is Ken Hall. I am the Executive Director of the Central Arizona Governments. We are comprised of the 17 municipalities of Gila and Pinal counties. We're one of 6 regional councils of governments throughout the state of Arizona. Back in Illinois, you have regional planning commissions. In Arizona, we have councils of governments. By state statute, by Executive Order 70-2, then Governor Jack Williams in 1970 split the state of Arizona into 6 regional councils of governments. I work for the Central Arizona Governments. We're Central Arizona, comprised of the 2 counties. Arizona has 15 counties. My boss is a panel of 17 mayors and 2 county supervisors. I work for each one of the governments within Gila and Pinal counties. Those are my bosses. That's who I'm accountable to. A regional council of elected officials. I'm also accountable to a management committee, which is comprised of each one of the municipal mayors, or I'm sorry, managers, our town clerks. Some of our smaller communities have clerks. They don't have managers. But each one of the city and town managers, I'm also accountable to them at the management level. So I'm basically a public servant for each one of the governments in Gila and Pinal counties. Now, by state statute, the Regional Transportation Authority, when it's set up in Pinal County, statutorily, this is Arizona state statutes, the RTA is under the jurisdiction of the local council of governments. And that's where our agency comes into play in this situation. By default, by statute, I am also the executive director of the Pinal Regional Transportation Authority. So that's my position in this. So I'm paid for, in terms of our budget, we have a very small budget and a very small staff. We have a staff of 15 people. Our budget's only a couple $1 million a year. Most of it is grant funded. We do have an assessment. Each one of the cities and towns pays a little bit of money toward our organization. But all of our, we're a nonprofit 501c3 organization established by the governor of Arizona in 1970 to be a regional planning authority, if you will.
Add some. Let me add some, because the acronyms are kind of similar. CAG, Council of Governors. Okay. And Central Arizona College, there's no affiliation whatsoever. Okay, no affiliation.
That was the second part of, that's where I was going with this. The Central Arizona College has absolutely no affiliation with our organization whatsoever. Although we do collaborate with them on some job development type activities, but that's under the Workforce Investment Opportunity Act. It's a totally different program, has nothing to do with transportation. But that's who I am, and that's how I kind of fit into all this. So I hope I answered your question. Okay.
I go to California a lot because I lived there before coming here. And you have nothing that is going to tie into any way for me to get to 10 through Pinal County. I use Parklink Drive. It is very dangerous to drive. It was, I know you just, I thank God you paved it because I used it when it was dirt. And but all you did, all that was done was they just covered the dirt and didn't make it real safe. If you ever have driven Parklink Drive, that is our only connection in Pinal County to 10. And the other is, I can't tell where Florence is, I can't tell where Coolidge is, but I have to tell you, that's the other way I cut through, and it is very dangerous, and you aren't even tying this in to anything that would benefit any of us going any place north.
Well, the park link was considered as a project, and it's still being discussed as a possibility. It hasn't disappeared from the map. We have a secondary list of projects, like a little parking lot, if you will, of projects, other projects. Let me explain some of that. We did a revenue analysis of what a half-cent sales tax would look like in the county over a 20-year period. We looked at a kind of like a low level, a mid-level, and a high optimistic level of what a collection would look like. We're estimating about $640 million. Although you probably don't see it, you don't see it as much down here, but in the county itself, we are dealing with a lot of growth and development that's coming over from the other side, and a lot of these communities are quickly growing. Right now, the population of the county is roughly anywhere from 400 to 410,000. We're looking at growth projections that really, in 20 years, look a little bit like 650 to 750,000 people. Unfortunately, there aren't federal dollars or state dollars to pay for any of these roadways. Now, we're in a situation, well, I think the county, well, yeah, the state gas tax is an entirely different issue, but this is where the Pinal County has been very proactive in trying to get ahead of the growth curve and forming an RTA, getting it out there to the public, putting a plan together, and hoping that it passes, because by doing so, we're able to get ahead of some of this growth and development and able to make accommodations for the citizens of the county.
Sure. It seems like all the work that they've done on Oracle was intended to take some of the load off of I-10 and provide a separate means to get from Tucson to Phoenix. This plan looks like you've just made a separate way to get to Globe or wherever it ends up there. And I'm wondering why you didn't continue along Oracle to the Highway 77 and connect.
Well, let me explain that. The concept, it's called the North, I wish I had a pointer. I don't have a pointer. Oh, Lewis is going to see if he has a pointer so I can use it on the map. But the whole concept behind this, obviously you have the I-10 corridor. The north-south corridor would be a 4-lane parkway facility. When this is constructed, it'll be 4 lanes and it'll go north and south and provide a secondary alternative to. Well, and that's I'm going to get to that. It's the northern part of it. The northern part of it is at Mountain View Road on US 60 in Apache Junction. It goes south. It travels south through Florence, Coolidge, and down to Eloy on I-10, where it would come to an end. But you have 2 options on that roadway. You have an option of avoiding the 10 and going into the metro from the east side, or using it to go up to the US 60 and cutting across. And Globe is on the outside of this, you know, where the little wedge part comes in. It's on the other side of Superior. It's in the south central part. But it's also Eloy. It also it provides connectivity to Eloy. And then we also have another roadway here. That's the Casa Grande connector.
This
Were you
question,
able to?
We don't have a pointer, but when I look at, if you could come to the map, I certainly would show you. Basically, what Ken is talking about is that green line starts right, if you will, between, if you're familiar with Gold Canyon Ranch, it's just to the west of Gold Canyon and just to the east of Apache Junction.
Right.
Point of reference. I agree with you, and that, yep. I can't agree more. We actually added freeways and the interstates, thinking that would be helpful on these particular maps. The map that we're showing up there isn't even the same map that we're showing before you in the boards. So if we could really, I'd like to kind of be a lot more interactive. You guys could break it up and we could kind of come on down to the map.
one of the ladies here spoke about the need, a quick need, to help SaddleBrooke drive from this other housing development. Now, if this ties in with your RTA program, my question would be for Tony Smith of the Board of Supervisors, since they issue the permit approvals for all the construction around here, where is the Board of Supervisors with regards to this new housing project? Have they cleared everything through you? Are they ready to go? Or could you still stop this, delay it until their road is corrected?
I think we've already discussed that and lost the battle as far as being able to stop it. There was no legal means that the Board of Supervisors had as far as options to do that. I don't think we can stop building permits if they're not legally anyway. Well, who controls building permits? The county, but I don't know if we have any power to stop building permits. I hear what you're saying, but I don't know. That's a legal question. I'm not an attorney to be able to answer that.
And as Supervisor Smith said, everyone has the right to construct. Everyone has the right to construct on their property. They had the easement to access that property through the preserves. That was secured long ago, and they've been through the process. They go to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviews the project, then it goes to the board for approval. Mr. Supervisor Smith's only one of the 5 board members on that panel, and then it's approved or denied at that time. We had several residents from SaddleBrooke area come out when it was approved. I believe, I'd have to ask the community development director, but I believe it was 2 months ago, June. No. Recent. So as Andy Smith, our principal planner with Pinal County, asked, we were set up really well for you to come to the maps and ask specific questions. There's about 10 of us in the room. If you would like to do that, that would probably be better utilizing our time, if you would.
People want to hear these questions first before you break up. They want to hear what everybody
Can you tell me, is there an official input process so people who aren't here, our friends and neighbors, that we can tell them this is how you officially comment on this? And maybe we have to too. Maybe our comments here are not official comments until we submit them through an official process.
It is my understanding that this is actually being played on a YouTube video currently through this community, streaming through a video, as well as it's being recorded on this particular loop that we had playing. And then somewhere along this loop, there's also Central Arizona, or cagaz.gov is actually the website where you can get all of this information downloaded off of it. It's also on this presentation as it loops across your screen, or however you get to this particular. And then it's also on the CAG website. There is a comment form. I have comment forms over there on the white table I would love to have for you to fill out. I have all kinds of them. So please fill out the comment forms. And then if you want to leave your name, we'll certainly follow up and get back with you.
And if you get lost in the websites, call my office and we'll get you redirected. We want your comments.
Okay. I have a suggestion for making the information on the map clear. Whoever has the laptop has a mouse, and that person can use the pointer of the mouse to point out the various aspects, the various points. Also, that red dot in the top right corner, that is Superior. Globe isn't even in the county, that's way off to the right side. Okay, going back to the Golder Dam Road, what about a road for this Sundance project that goes up past the biosphere and does not interfere with SaddleBrooke at all? I think this whole plan was very clandestine. It seems to have flown under the radar, and maybe a few people from SaddleBrooke were at some of the hearings, but most of us never heard about it until it was after the point where we could do anything about it.
How did you determine the road alignment alternative? How did you determine that?
Yeah. There may be an additional road as the additional lots are developed. That isn't there to serve all of the subdivisions, and in their plan they'll have to come in with an additional main entrance to the additional lots, and it's a different developer. The 55 lots is one entity, and then the biosphere in that large master plan that they submitted back in the 90s to Arizona State Land, they haven't even brought that philosophy or that idea back yet, and we haven't seen anything in that plan. Now, obviously, we'll be looking at their traffic study, and we'll be requiring them to have 2 points of access. They will. I don't imagine that they will utilize that road for the larger subdivisions that are coming in, maybe as their secondary access, but not their main point of access.
First of all, who are you?
Lewis Anderson, the Public Works Director, Pinal County. Public Works Director of Pinal County.
Would it be wrong to say, and this is going to be a yes or no? I have a yes or no question. I came today only to find out, are our roads going to be the only egress for development for Sundance Ridge for the foreseeable future and next few years? Yes or no? Yes, correct?
For the 55 lots, yes.
So, and it's a done deal, and the permits are in place. The construction is beginning. Yeah, my understanding is every real estate deal in the preserve had a disclaimer about that. It was put in place years ago when Robeson bought the property here. You cannot landlock other people away from their property. There has to be an egress. Peregrine is it. And this is a done deal. So for us to talk about, my assumption is, my understanding is, it's a done deal. For us to even talk about whether it was right, wrong, too late, not soon enough, whatever, doesn't really matter. It's a done deal. Peregrine is going to be the route that the construction is going to happen over, correct?
But there's an option, or there's an alternative if the RTA plan goes forward with a bypass,
Three
cut-through
or
road,
4 or 5
and that's
years
an
from now.
alternative. That's the best that.
But that doesn't matter. 3 or 4 or
Okay.
5 years from
Okay,
now.
well,
That's,
appreciate your comment.
thank you.
I'd like to follow that up a little bit. It's very hard to tell from that map. Hopefully people can hear me. But it's very hard to tell from that map. You go from the top of Catalina Hills into Kenyatta Partners property, but I can't tell if it goes all the way over to the Sundance Ridge part of their 364 acres, or if it just enters on the western part of it, and they have to provide the roads, because otherwise, if that's true, if it only goes to their property on a western edge, their 364 acres, then yes, the only route in is Peregrine and Middle Bear for the foreseeable future.
Yes, and when the county manager and I went up and looked at this with the partners that are constructing that, we intended for the county to only bring it to their property line, but the intent is for them to tie that in. Obviously, it would be a better route for people that are living in that area to not drive through the preserves and all of those backing in homes that are being disrupted by the additional traffic. So we predict that they will utilize that additional access.
So I guess the question to me as a policymaker is, should we expend and include in the plan the bypass road, or just yank it and save those millions of dollars and use them elsewhere?
Okay.
We have any legal recourse on that?
Yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't.
Any other questions before you move down and ask any particular questions regarding the gentleman?
Yeah, I'll say, right now, the preserve is only selling 2 or 3 homes a year. So they're not going to develop those 55 homes in the next year and a half. So build your road. They're going to be building that development up there for more years than you need to build your road. So even if in the next 2 or 3 years they're going to be using the preserve, after that, that road will lighten the load. So we need that road. Don't give it up.
I wonder if any of you folks have anything to do with economic development. What I see with the area that we're in, people from Mammoth on down go right through here to all the stores in the shopping center at Tangerine and so on. And then we just have no economic development that we could take advantage of these new tax dollars. If super shopping center were put up somewhere north of us. That's all, just a general revenue suggestion.
Well, thank you for that comment. Yes, as a county, we're very interested in economic development all throughout the county, and in particular, 2 weeks ago, I sat down with some of the people involved in the new Fry's shopping center, and also some of the development. Basically, they're looking at various parcels and the potential of having some additional development starting at the Fry's or the SaddleBrooke Boulevard, going all the way up to Lupe's Diner, and knowing that they will attract not only Oracle, but, well, they already attract Oracle, but other points north. So that corridor that's on Oracle Road in your neighborhood is being looked at very seriously for additional development. Well, they would expand it.
A real quick question. If the vote is no, is all of this a moot point?
We hope not. We do have some funding, and we'll have to prioritize those projects as their need is there. Average daily traffic is a huge factor, number of volume, congestion mitigation, and those things. So we will still have to build some of these facilities, regardless of the half-cent sales tax passing. But it'll take quite a lot longer to do so. Yes.
The discussion of Fry's and going north from that to Florence and so on, can you talk about why that isn't on the map here, why that wasn't considered as part of the north-south? I think that was a question that came up earlier, and would love more expansion on the answer of why the movement through Catalina in Pima County ended, and we thought, maybe a wrong assumption, that you might be heading farther north, continuing on from there.
Yeah, that would be a state facility, and we don't have the jurisdiction. That's an ADOT facility.
I have a question. Supervisor Smith, you said earlier when you have to deal with BLM, you kind of threw your hands up and said, well, I don't know about that. I mean, is that a fait accompli? Do we know they will not give it? Do we think they will give it? You worked with them before. How hard is it to get that land from the BLM to use it for a community purpose for a roadway to Sundance?
It is, to my knowledge, it's not BLM, it's state trust land.
Okay.
Okay.
The same question applies.
They're easier to deal with than BLM. I have a project that's kind of close to Park Link in the Missile Base area that we've been working through getting right away with BLM, and I've been working it ever since I've been a supervisor, so that's 3 years. And I think we're making good progress, but you just have to stay in the game with BLM. BLM is federal, state trust is state, and so oftentimes state trust can be a little easier to deal with when it comes to road right-of-way issues.
But if they say, no, we don't want it, then again, it's dead, right?
I don't know if you guys have more experience with them than me.
No, we'll have to buy the right of way. They look for the best use and value, and we believe that we can find an appropriate alignment that they'll accept, that we'll purchase and they'll agree to. Now, the way you see that line on the map cutting across 2 or 3 other parcels, that probably isn't going to be the exact alignment. It'll probably be on a centerline road of sorts, and it won't cut off the edge of their property. So we're just showing it there just for display purposes, but they always have feedback for us, and we usually end up following their lead. And we've had really good luck with state land, with the new state land commissioner, Lisa Atkins. We're working on a project, if you know Santan Valley, up in Hunt Highway, and things are really starting to move with state land. So I think that as our county engineer indicated, we could probably get this done in 24 months.
And I apologize for my body language for BLM.
I have a question. Wouldn't it be possible for the county to, as a separate project, fund the $2.5 million outside of the RTA plan to fast track it so this issue could get resolved more quickly than it sounds like it will?
That's an innovative idea. I know we have the months between now and November of yes or no. My background's project management, so I know a lot of ways in which you can do alternative paths. Maybe there's an opportunity to go through some of the preliminary work in order to, I'm not making a commitment, gentlemen, go through some of the preliminary work as far as positioning the project so that you don't have to repeat these 8 months between now and November, and then do some other things to accelerate it. But your particular idea was to actually spend monies out of the general fund outside of the RTA at risk in order to accelerate it perhaps even more. And that's, from my standpoint, it's a good idea, but I don't know if it's practical with the engineers and the other folks, but it sounds like a innovative and good idea.
I have a suggestion over here. I suggest you have more of these meetings throughout the county. You develop a more complete map, one that's much more understandable than what you just have shown us today. Included in that, have what will be included in the various phases, and that will help us decide how we're going to vote in November.
What all encompasses phase one, and what period of time would that cover?
As the executive director of the RTA, Ken Hall, mentioned, we do have phasing, and we do have the phasing approach. We didn't scientifically put that together yet, and so we wanted to do the public meetings. As I recall, looking at the plan, Thornton Road and I think Courtson and Kleck were in the first part of the phases, as well as the 347 highway, which is an expansion out of Maricopa. As I said, though, that isn't, as Ken also mentioned, that's not set in stone, and we will be working on the schedule through this time period. Yeah, the 347 is the green line on the far left. Courtson and Kleck is that interchange on the I-10, the yellow dot. No, but what I heard, the feedback that I'm hearing is that they would like to see that bypass road to the 55 acres done in phase one. She just said that these were our private roads and that we needed to put that project as well as the other folks that needs to be in phase one, because you have to maintain the roads and we don't do that because they're private, used by a 55 lot subdivision. Come on. Go ahead and invite him to come down. Yeah, if you would like to come down and look at the maps in a little more detail, we do have these visual maps here, and we'll have staff standing by for any other further questions.